You've been deceived. The world has fed you a comforting myth. To be valuable, you must be kind, hardworking, reliable, and ever-present. Society champions the virtues of likability, punctuality, and selflessness, promising that these traits will earn you respect and influence. But Niccolò Machiavelli, the master strategist of power, would dismiss this advice with a knowing smile. Being liked is a fleeting achievement, a shallow currency in the game of power. True value, the kind that makes you indispensable, untouchable, and irreplaceable, lies not in being adored, but in being necessary. This is the heart of Machiavelli's dependency trap, a calculated strategy to weave yourself so deeply into the fabric of others' lives, systems, and aspiration that your absence feels like a collapse of their world. In this intricate dance of influence, the goal is not to be the loudest voice in the room or the most celebrated figure. It is to become the silent force that holds everything together, the gravitational pull that others orbit without fully understanding why. When executed with precision, the dependency trap doesn't just grant you power. It makes the idea of losing you unthinkable, akin to severing a lifeline. This expanded guide will unravel the principles, tactics, and psychological nuances of becoming dangerously valuable, drawing on Machiavelli's timeless wisdom and modern applications to show you how to wield influence that endures beyond fleeting applause. The two faces of power, attention versus control. In the arena of power, there are two archetypes, those who chase attention and those who command control. The attention seekers are the performers, the charisma-driven stars who thrive on applause, social media validation, and public adoration. They are the influencers who trend, the colleagues who dominate meetings, the friends who captivate with their stories. Their victories are loud but ephemeral, like fireworks that dazzle momentarily before fading into the night. The controllers, by contrast, operate in the shadows. They are the quiet architects of systems, the unseen hands that steer outcomes, the ones whose absence reveals their true impact. While the attention seekers are cheered, the controllers are feared not for their aggression, but for the void they leave behind when they withdraw. If you seek lasting power, the kind that binds people to you not for a moment, but for a lifetime, you must forsake the pursuit of visibility and embrace the art of necessity. To be dangerously valuable is to become so integral to others' success, stability, or survival that they cannot function without you. This is not about being the most popular or the most admired. It's about being the linchpin, the keystone, the silent force that others rely on without fully realizing it until you're gone. The dependency trap, crafting irreplaceable value. Machiavelli's dependency trap is a psychological and strategic framework for creating reliance so profound that others protect you out of self-interest. It's not about forcing submission through fear or manipulation, but about embedding yourself in the systems, relationships, and minds of those around you. When you master this trap, people don't just value you, they need you. Your absence becomes their vulnerability, and your presence becomes their security. The modern world misguides us into chasing approval over leverage. We're taught to seek likes, followers, and praise, competing in a game of superficial validation. But Machiavelli, writing in the cutthroat courts of Renaissance Italy, understood a deeper truth. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Why? Because love is fickle, swayed by emotions and circumstances. Dependence, however, is enduring, rooted in the primal human fear of instability. To be dangerously valuable is to possess something others cannot replicate: a skill, a perspective, a solution, and to deliver it with such quiet precision that they only realize its worth when it's gone. Consider a historical example. Cardinal Richelieu, the 17th century French statesman, was a master of the dependency trap. He wasn't beloved by the French court. In fact, many despised him. Yet, as the chief advisor to King Louis XIII, he made himself indispensable by controlling the flow of information, forging alliances, and neutralizing threats before they could destabilize the monarchy. When Richelieu spoke, the court listened not out of affection, but because his absence would have plunged France into chaos. This is the essence of the trap. You don't need to be loved, but you must be needed. Building the invisible trap, strategies for dependence. Dependency trap thrives on subtlety. If people sense you're deliberately making them reliant, they'll resist. The key is to create dependence so seamlessly that it feels natural, almost inevitable. Here are the core strategies. To achieve this: 1. Solve problems they don't yet see. True power begins with perception. Identify a problem others haven't noticed or don't fully understand, a gap in their system, a tension in their relationships, a risk they've overlooked. Then, become the solution before they even recognize the issue. For example, in a workplace, you might streamline a chaotic process, anticipate a client's needs, or resolve a conflict before it escalates. Your contributions should feel effortless, almost unremarkable, until you step away. When the chaos returns, they'll realize you were the foundation of their stability. This tactic works because it exploits the human tendency to take order for granted until it's gone. Example: imagine you're a project manager in a tech startup. The team is overwhelmed, missing deadlines, and clashing over priorities. You quietly implement a system to track tasks, clarify roles, and anticipate bottlenecks. Meetings run smoother, deadlines are met, and morale improves. No one explicitly thanks you. They assume it's just how things work now. But when you take a week off, tasks pile up, conflicts resurface, and the team scrambles. Suddenly, your value is undeniable. You didn't just help, you became the system. Point 2. Make your value feel effortless. Deliver your contributions with quiet confidence, as if they require no effort. Offer advice that seems casual but resolves critical issues. Bring clarity to confusion or calm to tension. For instance, in a family setting, you might diffuse a heated argument with a well-timed question or a subtle shift in perspective. At first, others may believe they achieved the results themselves, but when you withdraw, the cracks appear and they see your true impact. This realization transforms you from helpful to foundational. Example: consider a corporate strategist who advises a CEO on navigating a merger. Instead of presenting a complex report, they distill the strategy into a single, actionable insight delivered over coffee. The CEO acts on it, the merger succeeds, and the strategist fades into the background. When the next crisis looms and the strategist isn't there, the CEO flounders, realizing the insight wasn't just helpful, it was the key to success. 3. Control through stability. The human mind fears instability above all else. By providing stability, whether emotional, operational, or strategic, you become the anchor others cling to. In a team, you might be the one who keeps everyone aligned, diffuses conflicts, or ensures goals are met. In a relationship, you might be the calm in the storm, offering perspective when emotions run high. When you're present, everything runs smoothly. When you're gone, disorder creeps in. This contrast cements your value without you ever needing to demand recognition. Historical example: Queen Elizabeth I of England mastered this principle. Known as the Virgin Queen, she stabilized a fractured nation by carefully balancing rival factions, fostering economic growth, and projecting strength without overt aggression. Her courtiers and subjects didn't love her unanimously. Some resented her, but they feared the chaos that would follow her absence. By positioning herself as the guarantor of England's stability, she became untouchable. Strategic scarcity, the power of absence. Machiavelli understood that giving too much diminishes your value. If you're always available, your presence becomes expected, even taken for granted. The key is to deliver your value in measured doses, creating a sense of scarcity that keeps others wanting more. Here's how to wield absence as a tool. Drip feed your impact. Provide just enough to solve the most pressing problems, but never so much that others feel they've mastered your contributions. For example, if you're a consultant, solve the biggest issue facing your client, say a failing marketing campaign, but leave smaller challenges like optimizing ad spend unresolved. This keeps them coming back, not because you've asked, but because they perceive you as the key to their success. By withholding just enough, you create a psychological tension that binds them to you. Modern example: a software developer at a startup creates a critical feature that saves the company from losing a major client. Instead of overhauling the entire system, they focus on that one feature, making it indispensable. When the client demands more, The developer is the first person they call not because they're the only coder, but because they've proven their value in a way no one else can. Replicate. Maintain an air of mystery. Never reveal the full extent of your abilities. If people think they've figured you out, they stop valuing you. By keeping them curious, wondering what else you're capable of, you create an addiction to your presence. For instance, a manager who occasionally shares a brilliant insight, but never boasts about their expertise, leaves their team hungry for more. This uncertainty ensures they remain the focal point of others' attention, even when they're not in the room. Psychological insight. This tactic leverages the Zeigarnik effect, a psychological principle where people remember incomplete tasks or unresolved questions more vividly than completed ones. By leaving others slightly uncertain about your full capabilities, you keep them mentally tethered to you, always seeking the next piece of the puzzle. Withdraw strategically. Absence is the ultimate test of value. When you step back, even briefly, you allow others to feel the void of your absence. Let them experience the discomfort of life without you. For example, in a professional setting, take a short leave after a major success, a project delivered, a crisis averted. Let the team struggle without your guidance. When they realize how much they relied on you, their dependence deepens. This isn't cruelty, it's strategy. Your absence forces the world to calculate your worth. Case study: in 2009, Steve Jobs took a medical leave from Apple. During his absence, the company's stock dipped, and analysts speculated about Apple's future without him. His return reinforced his indispensability, not because he was the only capable leader, but because he had embedded himself as the visionary heart of the company. His absence didn't just highlight his value, it made it legendary. Irreplaceability. By default, be dangerously valuable. You must be irreplaceable by design. This doesn't mean being the best at everything, it means owning something unique that others cannot replicate. Here are practical ways to achieve this. Master a rare skill. Develop expertise in an area others can't easily duplicate. This could be a technical skill, like advanced data analysis, or a soft skill, like diffusing high-stakes conflicts with emotional intelligence. For example, a cybersecurity expert who can anticipate and neutralize threats before they materialize becomes the backbone of any tech-driven organization. Example, in a law firm, a paralegal who masters the art of researching obscure legal precedents becomes indispensable. When a case hinges on an overlooked detail, their work saves the day. No one else in the firm has the patience or expertise to replicate their process, making them a silent powerhouse. Combine common skills uniquely. If a rare skill is out of reach, combine two or more common skills in a way that's distinctive. A marketer who blends storytelling with statistical analysis, or a manager who pairs strategic foresight with empathetic leadership stands out in a crowded field. This fusion creates a niche that's uniquely yours. Example, a teacher who combines classroom management with gamified learning techniques transforms their students' engagement. Other teachers may excel in one area, but the combination makes this educator irreplaceable to their school. Know the hidden systems. Become the person who understands the inner workings of an organization, relationship, or process. Know the secrets, the shortcuts, the flaws, the things others overlook. For instance, in a company, be the one who knows how to navigate bureaucratic roadblocks, or who holds the unofficial relationships that keep things moving. When you're the keystone, removing you destabilizes everything. Historical example, in ancient Rome, Agrippa, the right-hand man of Emperor Augustus, was the master of logistics and infrastructure. While Augustus was the face of the empire, Agrippa ensured its roads, aqueducts, and military campaigns ran smoothly. His knowledge of the empire's systems made him indispensable. Even if he never sought the throne, never broadcast your irreplaceability. Let your actions speak. Deliver results quietly, smile, and step back. The fear of your absence will do the rest. Boasting about your value invites scrutiny and competition. Letting others discover it creates loyalty and awe. Emotional debt. The silent lever of influence. Loyalty built on gratitude is fragile. Loyalty built on emotional debt is unbreakable. When you help someone, don't demand thanks or recognition. Act as if your help cost you nothing, even if it required immense effort. For example, if you resolve a colleague's crisis, say, by staying late to fix a critical error, don't mention it again. Let them replay the moment in their mind, wondering what you might expect in return. This unspoken debt creates a psychological burden stronger than any explicit favor. They'll feel obligated to you, not because you asked, but because they've constructed a narrative in which they owe you. Modern example: a mentor who helps a young professional land their first major. Client does so without fanfare. They offer a key introduction, share a critical insight, and step back. The professional, now successful, feels an unspoken obligation to the mentor. They may not say it, but they'll defend the mentor's reputation, recommend their services, and prioritize their advice not out of gratitude, but because the debt lingers in their mind. This tactic is rooted in cognitive dissonance. People feel uneasy when they owe something they can't repay. By never acknowledging the favor, you amplify this discomfort, turning even the most independent individuals into silent allies. Machiavelli would approve this as leverage without a contract. Absence as a mirror. Reflecting your value or absence is a mirror that reflects others' reliance on you. After a significant contribution, whether fixing a problem, elevating a team, or stabilizing a relationship, step back. Don't disappear forever, just long enough for others to feel the contrast. Let them re-experience the chaos or uncertainty that existed before you. For instance, if you've been the calming force in a volatile team, take a brief hiatus. When tension resurfaces, they'll realize your role was not just helpful but essential. This moment of clarity transforms your value from invisible to undeniable psychological insight. This strategy leverages the endowment effect, where people value something more once they fear losing it. By withdrawing, you make others confront the possibility of life without you, amplifying their perception of your worth. Example: in a family business, the sibling who quietly resolves disputes between relatives steps away during a major decision. Without their mediation, arguments escalate and progress stalls. When they return, their role as the family's emotional glue is undeniable. They don't need to demand respect, it's given freely. Controlling the rules of engagement. True power lies not in what you give, but in how you give it. 2. Maintain. Control. Condition others to operate within your framework. Here are practical tactics. Respond with intention. Always reply after a slight delay, or ask a single question before providing help. This subtle shift makes others adapt to your rhythm. For example, a consultant who pauses before answering a client's question forces the client to value their response more. Over time, others begin to plan their actions around your responses, aligning with your way of operating. Shift the rules slightly, provide value consistently, but vary the way you deliver it. This keeps others guessing, ensuring they never take you for granted. For instance, in a professional setting, alternate between direct solutions and guiding questions. If you're a team leader, sometimes offer a clear directive, other times prompt the team to find the answer themselves. This unpredictability makes you the compass others orient themselves toward. Create a system. You control a process or resource, but do so subtly. For example, in a company, you might develop a spreadsheet that tracks critical metrics, but only you fully understand its logic. Others rely on it, but they need your input to use it effectively. You've created a system where your involvement is essential, yet it feels like their choice to seek you out. By controlling the terms of interaction, you shape others' behavior without them realizing it. They adjust to your reality, and in doing so, they submit to your influence. The power of hope. Controlling aspirations. Machiavelli's ultimate weapon is not fear or dominance, it's hope. Control someone's aspiration, and you control their future. Speak to their ambitions in a way no one else does. Plant ideas about who they could become, but never fully open the door to that potential. For example, tell a colleague they have the potential to lead, but only if they refine certain skills you can help them develop. Show a friend a glimpse of the confidence they could embody with your guidance. By linking their dreams to your presence, you become the gatekeeper of their aspiration. Example, a startup founder mentors a young coder, telling them, "You could be the next big innovator if you master this one skill." The founder offers occasional guidance, but never hands over the full playbook. The coder, hungry for that vision of themselves, stays loyal. not just to the founder but to the dream they represent. They'll defend the founder, not out of obligation, but because losing them means losing their path to greatness. This tactic taps into the human need for self-actualization. When people believe you hold the key to their potential, they won't just stay with you, they'll protect you from others, sacrifice for you, and ignore their doubts to preserve the story you've given them. Becoming the system, the ultimate power. The ultimate expression of Machiavellian power is to become the system itself. Don't chase the spotlight or seek credit. Instead, embed yourself in the processes, relationships, and structures others rely on. In a business, create workflows that depend on your insight. In a social circle, be the one who connects people, remembers details, and holds the group together. In a relationship, provide the emotional stability others lean on. When you are the system, your absence doesn't just disrupt, it destabilizes. Historical example: in the Medici court of Florence, Cosimo de' Medici was not just a banker, he was the system. He financed artists, brokered alliances, and influenced politics without ever holding the title of ruler. When he was exiled in 1433, Florence descended into factional strife. His return a year later wasn't just welcomed, it was demanded, because the city couldn't function without his stabilizing influence. Modern example: in a tech company, the engineer who designs the core architecture of a product doesn't just code, they create a system that others build upon. If they leave, the product falters, not because they were the only engineer, but because they were the one who understood the why behind the how. Their knowledge was the foundation, and their absence reveals it. When you become the system, your value is invisible until you're gone, and then it becomes unquestionable. People will fight to keep you, not out of loyalty, but because their world unravels without you. Weaving the web, spreading your influence to maximize your impact. Don't focus on one person or process, spread your influence across multiple domains. Think like a spider weaving a web. Your power lies in the interconnected threads, not a single strand. For example, in a team, offer advice to multiple members that ties back to a single insight you control. If they rely on that insight, they rely on you. In a family, act as the bridge between conflicting members. If you step back, the family fractures, and they'll beg for your return. In a company, create systems that span departments, but only you fully understand their logic. When one department falters, they all turn to you. This approach ensures that removing you unravels multiple outcomes at once. Others don't just lose a resource, they lose the fabric of their success. The dark art of complexity. One of Machiavelli's darkest tactics is to introduce complexity and then position yourself as its interpreter. Complicate a process just enough that others lose confidence in handling it alone. For example, a financial advisor might present a client with a dizzying array of investment options, then simplify it with a single recommendation. The client, overwhelmed, begins to rely on the advisor's judgment, not their own. Over time, they stop trusting their instincts and turn to you first. Example: in a corporate setting, a manager introduces a new project management tool that's slightly more complex than the old one. They train the team on its basics, but retain the advanced features for themselves. When issues arise, the team turns to the manager, not because they're incompetent, but because the manager has positioned themselves as the only one who can navigate the complexity. This isn't about deceit, it's about positioning yourself as the clarity in the fog. When others doubt their own judgment, they'll defer to you, not out of weakness, but because you've become their lens for understanding the world. Embedding your value in their identity. The most enduring form of power is not tied to a task or role, it's tied to someone's identity. Find the core insecurity in their self-image and solve it. Discover what they secretly want to believe about themselves and reflect it back to them. For example, to a partner, say, "You're the one who always sees things clearly when everyone else is lost." To a colleague, say, "People listen when you speak, even if they don't admit it." To a friend, say, "Your calm makes everyone feel safe." Over time, they link that identity confirmation to your presence. If you leave, they feel a part of themselves disappear. This isn't manipulation, it's integration. You've become part of their self-concept, and people will betray anything before they betray that. Example: a coach tells an athlete, You have the grit to be a champion, but only if you trust my training. The athlete ties their self-image as a champion to the coach's guidance. Even when they doubt the coach, they stay, because leaving feels like abandoning their own potential. The final warning: avoid addiction to being needed. The dependency trap is a double-edged sword. Once you've mastered it, you hold immense power. But there's a danger: becoming addicted to being needed. If you crave the role of the keystone, you risk becoming a prisoner of your own creation. The true Machiavellian remains detached, building power quietly, embedding themselves deeply, and withdrawing strategically. Let the system run itself. Never cling to the spotlight or the gratitude of others. When they need you but you don't need them, you've achieved true freedom. Conclusion: the legacy of unseen power. Machiavelli's dependency trap is not about being the loudest, the most visible, or the most loved. It's about being the one they can't forget, the one they can't replace, the one whose absence leaves a void too painful to ignore. By solving unseen problems, delivering value strategically, embedding yourself in the systems others rely on, and controlling their aspiration, you become dangerously valuable. Your influence lingers not because you demand it, but because others can't imagine a world without you. This is the silent, unshakable power of the dependency trap, a power that doesn't shout, but whispers, and in its whisper, commands everything. From the courts of Renaissance Italy to the boardrooms of today, those who master this trap don't just hold power, they become it. They are the system, the rhythm, the solution, woven so deeply into the fabric of others' lives that their name becomes untouchable, their presence unforgettable, and their absence unimaginable.